Mark, thanks for coming through. Let's first just ask you about the very thin trading day on the JSE today. Nothing exciting happening, but then I see internationally as well, trade wasn't as flowing as it would have been on other days.
True that, and I think with us, it was mainly what happened with Japan. I mean, the guys are on a 10 days holidays.
Yeah.
I mean, they started on the 27th up until the 6th of May. So, and also back home here, we've got a holiday, and even next week as well. So people are kind of reluctant to put money on the table. And yes, even though there's some major economic news coming out, but at least they're coming out on Wednesday night. We should be able to respond to them on Thursday when they come back.
Yeah, and it's interesting you touch on that because we do have some significant, let's call it, risk events that might take place in those announcements. But we start off with what happened on Friday. What did you make of the US GDP figures coming out on Friday? I think that also set a little bit of a tone internationally. Positive news for an emerging market like us?
Yeah, sure, by all means it did. And I think, we're desperate for good news. Yeah. But if you dig into those numbers, you can see that, it's mainly because of government spending.
Yeah.
Hence, it went up. So the government spending made up, managed to help what we saw, a sharp decline when it comes to business spending. So that's kind of worrying because you want business to be the ones to be spending money. The government just has to be there to create the environment. But anyway, people are just happy for any good news. You can even see that with the earnings, that expectations were a bit low. So every time they start to beat earnings, we get excited. And I think it's a situation of anything will do as long as positive news going forward. Emerging markets, the minute we see the likes of the US growing, and that's after we've seen a number from the Chinese economy, which also managed to beat expectations. Those are two super economies. So the minute they start growing, then it tells you that the emerging markets should be looking okay. Yeah. And South Africa, knowing that most of our resources are to be consumed by China, so you like to see some strength coming from those two economies.
Why were mining shares down today?
I mean, as you said earlier in your intro, gold price is down, and for obvious reasons that equities are going up, people, they don't see a need to hold that. But what was more concerning, if you check the likes of palladium, which is down just over 6%, I mean, most platinum companies, were going up at the back of high palladium prices. Platinum itself, it has been down. Oil as well, it has been down. Hence, even your diversified mining companies were also down. So it's mainly at the back of those prices of those commodities going down.
All right. Mark, we've been looking at this rand ahead of the elections. Ordinarily, one would think or assume there might be some volatility in the lead up to the elections. It just doesn't appear that the currency is bothered about elections at this stage. The main driver is still coming from abroad.
By all means. And, the only time you get domestic news pushing the rand, that's if there's nothing overseas.
Yeah.
Come the elections, we're looking for elections. Let's say for whatever reason we get a huge surprise, If there's a major economic event that's going to drive the dollar, unfortunately, the rand will follow that. Yes, that we do have some influence coming from those numbers, but mainly now we are all at the mercy of what is happening with international news. And look at also what is happening with the sentiments coming out of the euro. That is kind of negative economic sentiment. So the minute it has a dent on the euro as a currency, our major trading partner is the European zone, so we tend to follow the euro as well. That gets to affect us. But yes, you are right. Now we are all at the mercy of what is happening with the US dollar, and all eyes are on the US Federal Reserve, which is going to be making the announcement on Wednesday.
Yeah, more than in the elections. I wanted to get your take on Johann Rupert's Reinet. I see they say they did remarkably well because of their chunk in the British American tobacco, which never had a great year last year, but it seems to be sort of recovering early on this year.
By all means, we check. I mean, I think British American tobacco is making just around 42, if not 48% of their portfolio. So we know it was down almost 42% last year. So for it to recover a little bit, then it makes sense to see the net asset value of Reinet doing okay. And as you said, it's mainly at the back of what is happening with the British American tobacco because it makes the biggest chunk of their portfolio.
All right, Mark, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.